Story time. So I got into jiu-jitsu about a year and a half ago. I'm 50 years old now. I was 49 years old when I got into jiu-jitsu. So you can imagine when you're 49 years old, your joints are not as flexible, your speed is not as fast as it used to be, and there's a big learning curve when you're going up against young bucks. However, I was able to apply a lot of the lessons that I've learned on the mats in jiu-jitsu to my business life and to my personal life. And what I've got at 50 years old is business and life experience. I've been an entrepreneur going on 30 years. I've coached and consulted hundreds of entrepreneurs, and I've built and sold, businesses left and right. But for me, the mats, they were pretty new. And so what I've learned, one thing that you can transfer from the jiu-jitsu mats, and if you do jiu-jitsu, you could relate to this. And by the way, if you've never done jiu-jitsu, you might want to consider doing it. It is such a humbling experience, number one. Number two, you think that the people on those mats are mean and aggressive and violent and not nice. They're some of the kindest, most compassionate, loving people on the planet. And my theory is that they expend all this tension and stress and angry energy off the mats, and in life they're just really cool people. And on the mats, believe it or not, they can be pretty gentle. I guess that's why they call jiu-jitsu the gentle martial art. But I digress. But give it a shot. So having said that, one thing I found in jiu-jitsu that I can relate to normal life is this, and I want you to always remember this, whether you end up doing jiu-jitsu or not, that when you find yourself in a crisis, maybe you've got your arm right across your neck and you're on the bottom position and they're about to install a head and arm choke on you, and you might need to tap out. Well, guess what? As it turns out in jiu-jitsu, there's a counter to everything. And if you can see the head and arm choke coming, or you could see the crisis coming, or maybe even as the crisis is happening, you can find the counter to it and find your way out. So as long as you are not willing to give up, as long as you are willing to stay in the fight, as long as you are willing to stay calm under chaos, and you go back to your training and your experience, in my case as an entrepreneur, you find that there are other tools in the toolbox that you can rely on as a counter to what's happening to you right now when you're being choked out. Turns out there's a counter to that, and there's a counter to that, and there's a counter to that. And I can say that when the pandemic took place and my businesses were struggling, we had to pivot and counter again. And when we did, we found that we were able to not only survive, but ended up thriving out of the pandemic and coming out with new lessons in both business and in life. So there's your life lesson to you about jiu-jitsu. Go find your local jiu-jitsu academy and join some of the nicest people out there. It's a great experience, and I think you're gonna love it. Peace.